Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Lacy Bay Designs. On this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to make this beautiful scallop hip guarded dress. So stay connected as we get started. So these are the materials I'll be using for the tutorials: scissors, tailor's chalk, tape measure, ruler, African print, and then my net. Okay, so my client's measurement, the bust measurement for my client is bust 33 inches. So bust 33 divided by 4 will give me 7 3/4. Okay, so 7 3/4, let's make it 8 inches plus 4 inches as my seam allowance, making 12 inches. The 4 inches I added, 2 inches for my dart allowance and then 2 inches for sewing allowance. Okay, so for the neckline, I will come down 3 inches. The width and the length is 3 by 3 inches. So I marked out 3 by 3 inches. Okay, so from the shoulder down to the bust point, I marked out 11 inches. And then to the under bust, I marked out 15 inches. And then to the waist area, I marked out 17 inches. I'll then do the same thing on the other side. So 11, 15, and then 17. I'll then connect all the points with my ruler. Okay, so after connecting all the points with my ruler, I'm about to cut out the dart interval. So I marked out 4 inches to the side and then marked out my 2 inches dart allowance. Okay, so the interval will be 2 inches, 1 inch at both sides. And then on the bust line, I marked out 5 inches. Okay, so I then connected the under bust to the waist line and then draw my curve passing through the bust point to the armhole area. Like what I have done. Okay, so I'll then mark the other dart from the waist to the bust point and then to the armhole. Okay, but I wouldn't be cutting the armhole. I'll cut out and then cut my back. After cutting my back, I'll then cut out the dart for the front. So before taking out my armhole, so this is the back. I am cutting the back. I'll cut the same pieces for my back. 2 inches will serve as my zip allowance and then 2 inches will serve as my sewing allowance. So I'll cut the same measurement I used for the front. I'll cut it on the back. Okay, so this is what I have after cutting out. Since 2 inches is for the zip allowance, I then shifted the front forward like what I have done. Now the neckline for the back is 1.5, so I divided the front into 2, the front neckline into 2, and then I cut out the back neckline. Okay, then this is the front neckline. I then cut out. The next thing to do is to go ahead and then cut out my front darts. Okay, so I'm about to cut the front darts. After cutting out the fabric pieces, I'll then cut the same thing on my lining pieces. So I'll be cutting both the front and then the back on the lining pieces. Okay, so now I'm about to cut the skirt part. That's from the waist to the hip side. Okay, my clients, I'm using the hip measurement throughout. My client measurement is 42, divided by 4 is 10.5, plus 2 inches as my sewing allowance, making 12.5. Okay, so from the waist downwards, I came down 12 inches. It's actually 10 inches, but since I'll be sewing seam allowances both top and then down, I added 2 inches to it, so I marked out 12 inches. As you can see, I connected the 2 points in a straight line like what I have done. Okay, so I'm about to create the scallop. Sorry, the other side didn't the camera couldn't capture the center front. Okay, so I started from the center front of the skirt. I left 0.5 before I drew my scallop design. Okay, so from the 0.5 I marked out 3 inches interval, each 3 inches interval. Okay, so from the 0.5 I marked 3 inches, then another 3 inches, then another 3 inches, like what I am doing. Okay, so from the 3 inches, the middle of the one of the 3 inches, or the second 3 inches, or the second point, okay, I then came up 4 inches. Then I connected the first point to the 4 inches upwards, then brought it down to the third 3 inches point. So this is it. I then left about half-inch interval and then connected it to the top 4 inches, then brought it down again. Okay, so this is what I'll be having. So at each side I'll be having 2 scallop design. So the full front will be 4 scallop design. I'll then cut out my back pieces. So this is the back pieces. I then left about 1.5 or 2 inches as my zip allowance before I drew the scallop design onto it. I then raised it and then cut out the scallop design, like what I am doing. So this is the full pieces. That's the front skirt pieces with the lining, the back with the lining, the front top with the lining, and then the back top with the lining. Okay, so the next thing to do is to work on the front top. I'll then open the center front pieces into 2, and then place the right side facing me, and then place the side onto it. So I'll be doing the same thing on my lining pieces. I'll go ahead and then sew along the darts. Okay, so this is what I have after sewing. I'll then bring the right side of each together and sew 1/4 inch of the neckline. Okay, so this is the back pieces. For the back pieces, I am going to divide the center back into 2. That's the zip line. I'll divide it into 2, then divide the lining pieces also into 2. Afterwards, I'll place the right side of each together, sew down the zip line and then the neckline as well. I'll be doing the same thing on the other side of the pieces. Afterwards, I will turn to the right side and top stitch on the lining. I'll then do the same thing for the front. I'll turn to the right side and then top stitch on the lining. Okay, so this is what I have after sewing the neckline for both the front and then the back. Okay, so the next thing to do is to go ahead and bring the back pieces front sides together and indicate my zip allowance. So I'm about to indicate the zip allowance. That's 1.5 because I have already sewed half an inch inside. So I will draw my 1.5 zip allowance and then secure it with my pins to enable me shape my armhole and then shape the top according to my client's measurement. Okay, so this is what I have after pinning. The next thing to do is to go ahead and then fold the top into 2 and place it onto the back pieces like this. So I'll go ahead and shape the shoulder line. I'll slope the shoulder line about half an inch. Okay, so I marked the shoulder line 4 inches. Okay, and then I came down 9 inches. It's actually 8.5, but half inch will be as my sewing allowance for the shoulder. Okay, so I came down now 9 inches and then curve my armhole and then cut out. So the next thing to do is to go ahead and then place the right side of both the front and back together like what I have done and then shape it according to my client's measurement. That's bust 33 and then waist 30. So because I used a princess dart, I will take away 3 inches from the bust 33 and then shape it according to the rest of the measurements. Okay, So what I will do next is to go ahead and then sew down, have an inch the shoulder line, and then sew the side and side downwards. So this is it. I will then sew down the shoulder line like this, then sew the side and side. The next thing, this is what I have after sewing the side and side. Okay, sorry I didn't show you this part. I then finished the armhole with my bias tape. So I used the bias tape, the blue color type, and then finished it with my armhole. Okay, so the next thing to do is to go ahead and then work with the skirt part or the hip pieces. Okay, so this is the front. I'll then open up the front, making sure the right side faces me, and place the right side of the lining onto it. So this is the back rather. Yes, so I'll be dividing it into two. Go ahead and then sew the zip line together. Okay, so this is what I have after sewing the zip line, both the zip line. The next thing to do is to go ahead and indicate the zip allowance like this. Afterwards, I will secure it down with my pins, then open it, making sure the right side faces me, and I'll place the right side of the front skirt onto it. Then I'll shape it according to my client's measurement. Okay. So after shaping with the waist measurement 30 and then hip 42, I will then trim off the excess like what I just did. Okay, so the next thing to do is to go ahead and then sew the side and side downwards. Okay, so this is what I have after sewing the side and side. The next thing to do is to go ahead and then open it into two like this. So this is the top pieces. I then open the top pieces also into two like this, making sure the right side faces me. Okay, so before I join the skirt to the top, I will then trim off about half an inch at the back skirt, and then place the right side of each together, making sure the side and side matches like this. After matching, I'll then secure it down with my pins and then go ahead and sew 1 inch all round. Great, so this is what I have after joining the waistline, the skirt waistline, and then the top waistline. So this is my net, and then this is my satin fabric. So the next thing to do is to go ahead and then measure the full length. The full length for my client, that's the quarter, is 47 inches, but from the shoulder to the hip area I had 22 inches. Okay, so I'll be left with 25 inches to. So I'll then mark out the 25 inches. So from the tip away 25 inches. I will then fold it in and then cut it into two. Then mark another 25 inches. Then fold it in again and cut it into two. Okay, so I'll be repeating this until I get all the 25 inches or all the pieces in my net. Okay, I used about 5 to 6 inches net. Yeah, it's like 5 inches or 6 inches net. Okay, if you want more gathers in yours, you can use more net, like 7 inches. Okay, so this is what I have. I actually got six pieces. I got 6 pieces out of the net. So the next thing to do is to go ahead and then pull my gathers at one side of the net. I'll be doing it on all the 6 pieces net I cut out. Okay, so this is it. I don't have the gathered or the gathers foot, so I placed a pin at one corner of my foot, and then it created the gathers for me. So this is it, creating my gathers. Okay, so when I'm about to end one net, I leave about 4 inches and then place another net onto it. So I'll be making one net overlap the other like 4 inches. So this is how I'll be pleating my gathers throughout. Okay, Okay, so this is what I have after sewing all the gathers. So this is what I have after pulling the gathers. Okay, so as you can see, it's overlapping. The next thing to do is to go ahead and then measure all round the scallop to see how long the net should be. Okay, so as you can see, I'll be measuring just the front, then I'll use the same measurement for the back. I think in all I had 40 inches. Yes, I had 40 inches, and then my net was also 41 inches. Yes, so the front was 20 inches, and then the back is automatically 20 inches, making 40 inches, and then my net was also 41 inches. So this is my 1 yard lining. I then folded it into 3 equal parts and then divided it. Okay, so the next thing to do is to go ahead and then join it in the straight line. I'll join the middle of all the 3 pieces I cut. Okay, so after getting it in the straight line, I'll then place it onto the net fabric and then pleat along until it covers the length of the net. So this is what I have after placing the lining fabric onto the net. The next thing to do is to go ahead and then place the right side of the net onto the right side of the skirt. Then I'll sew along. So this is where I am sewing on the scallop designs. Okay, great. So this is what I have after sewing along the scallop design with the net. Okay, so the next thing to do is to go ahead and then straighten the hem of the net. Okay, so I marked from the hip line downwards 25 inches, then I straighten it. The next thing to do is to go ahead and then bring the back pieces together, like this, making sure the zip lines match, the waistline matches, the hip line also match. Then I'll mark out the zip extension, that is 22 inches, then sew down the rest. Okay, so this is what I have after fixing my zip and then sewing down the rest to the hem area. I then open the zip and then turn to the right side. Then my dress is ready. Okay, so afterwards I'll try it on a dummy to see how beautiful it looks, and my client is going to love it. Please, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, kindly do so and then press the notification bell to notify you anytime I upload any video. Yay! That is bust 33, waist 30, and then hip 42. So this is the final look after I placed it on a dummy. Okay, so beautiful and nice. See you all in our next video. Bye.